And I'm the editor and co-founder of Next Tribe, a digital magazine and community for smart, engaged women over 45. And welcome to Embrace the Change, a 3-part virtual series where we'll be exploring how to thrive during menopause and beyond. And we're thrilled to be partnering today for this series with Nutrafol, a leading supplier of nutraceuticals that promote hair growth and health and overall well-being. Nutrafol's Women's Balance supplements are specially formulated to help us counteract the changes of menopause. Today, we're going to cover beauty and menopause. In the second session, we'll talk about mind and mood. And in the third, we'll talk about energy and fitness. There's so much to explore on the topic of menopause, and too often the media and healthcare professionals just ignore it. But Next Tribe is always ready to take it on. From the very beginning, we've been talking about it, and we're so grateful that Nutrafol is helping us do that right now. So first, I want to introduce our 2 guests today. One is Dr. Julie Rusak. She's a dermatologist and founder of Rusak Dermatology Clinic and Rusak Aesthetic Center in New York. She's won all kinds of honors, but the one that's most impressive to me is that the New York Times selected her as a New York Super Doctor. Welcome, Super Dr. Rusak.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It's great to be here. And I'm excited to talk to you all about it because it's a topic that is dear to me and for a lot of different reasons that we'll go into in a little bit.
Okay, great. Thank you. Our other expert is Jane Larkworthy. She's a well-known and well-loved beauty expert. She's currently the beauty editor-at-large at The Cut, and she's been a beauty editor at W, Glamour, and Jane magazine. So glad you're with us today, Jane.
Thanks for having me, Jeannie. I particularly liked when you mentioned menopause and hair, and you gave that little hair flip.
You like that? I like that kind of, you know.
That was very subtle, but it was very on point.
Visual aid. Plus, I've just had my hair done, and I'm just so happy about it.
Very jealous.
Because I'm in Texas, and they did allow us to go back to the beauty salons. So to all of you who are joining us at this event, could you please write questions in the chat function, or if you're on watching us on Facebook Live, you can write your questions in the comments and we'll see those. And the great thing is Nutrafol is going to be giving 5 of you a 3-month subscription to their Women's Balance. And this is great. This is like their thank you gifts to us. So, and we'll be choosing the winners from those of you who've written in your questions. So don't be shy. I want to see some questions. I know you all have questions. I have a bunch of them, and I'm going to start now with Jane. So Jane, this is like the overall, what are some of the biggest changes and that we're going to see in our appearance or beauty concerns that come up as we get older?
Dry everything. Like it's kind of fascinating. Like I've been talking to a number of my friends about this. So I'm in my late 50s, and I went through I went through a very mild menopause. I'm lucky to say, because I remember my mother had a really tough time of it. But aside from the obvious hot flashes and that wake you up at night sweats, your skin is so dry that it almost seems impenetrable. Like, it's a really interesting thing. Like you have to choose the products that you use wisely that are richer, but also penetrate skin, get into skin, whereas like a lighter moisturizer might not. So obviously you have things like vaginal dryness, but since we're talking about beauty, it's just
we'll have to do a whole seminar on menopause and sex down the road. But anyway, so
I'll be sure to watch that one. So yeah, I mean, obviously with hormonal changes, our bodies are making less collagen and elastin, but I mean, that's kind of nothing new, because from our 20s, we stopped making as much as we used to. But it gets much more serious after menopause, and you really have to start paying attention. And it's not the end of the world. Just kind of adjust your regime.
Okay, well, we'll talk about regime changes later, sorry. So Dr. Rusek, I'm just wondering what happens to our hair as we enter menopause? I mean, how does menopause affect our hair texture and growth?
So I'm gonna go back to exactly what Jane said, that everything gets dry. And our hair gets dry and our scalp gets dry. And dry not in the time that you're gonna put some moisturizer on it and it's gonna get better. It's dry because it doesn't have a nutritional support. So it's dry to the point that nothing penetrates through that. And scalp is your skin also. So for a very long time, we kind of were dissociating how we treat our skin versus how we treat our scalp. And right now we are really understanding that supporting your scalp is going to support your hair, because your hair follicles are located in the scalp. So when we are supporting the better growth and the better health of our scalp, our hair gets better. But the hair shaft itself contains a lot of nutrients and a lot of proteins. And with the menopause and with hormonal changes, how we incorporate those proteins, how we make them, how we incorporate all the nutrients into the hair, kind of all goes downhill. So the hair becomes brittle. The hair doesn't become as lush or as shiny. What you start noticing first is that it looks like hair takes longer and longer and longer time to grow. And a lot of my patients, when they come in their 40s and they don't even think that they're already perimenopausal. But as women, we start our perimenopause, menopause really in our 40s. So hormonal changes start much earlier. I've read a statistic somewhere that 1/3 of our lifetime, we actually live in perimenopause, menopause. But as you mentioned, we don't really talk about it. And yes, it is normal, and it's normal to go through changes, but we just have to know how to deal with them.
Great. Well, what are some of the options we have, I mean, for our hair health?
So we have a lot of options. We just have to understand what contributes to actually hair health. And using a shampoo that just supports your hair, where the problem of the hair growth actually starts in the scalp, is not going to be enough. So the hair thinning, hair aging, and changes that the hair goes through perimenopausal and menopausal is actually very multifactorial. You can't think about changes in the hair without thinking about it, what is happening to your body with the menopause. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing is stress. And I don't mean stress just mental, which also happens with perimenopause and menopause, right? We are all stressed and we're worried that it's the end of our life, even though I think it's just the beginning, because we are finally becoming who we are and we established our life. But there's still stress, and that stress a lot is hormonal stress. Our estrogen starts going down, our progesterone starts going down, but the androgens are actually still staying around for a little bit longer. So there's a period where we are much more under androgen controls versus estrogen control. And metabolically for us, it's a huge stress. As we age also, we start noticing that in general, our metabolic rate goes down. So we're not as metabolically active. We can't reverse the environmental damage. We can't reverse the damage from the outside, but also intrinsic damage as much. How we metabolically start producing collagen and elastin, what Jane mentioned before, is also goes down, and that also contributes to hair. So we start noticing first that the hair doesn't grow as long or as much. Then we start noticing that it's actually get thinner. Every woman's hair gets thinner, and women are very wary of talking about it. Men accepted that when they're gonna grow older, their hair is gonna go, or at least it's gonna thin out. They might like it, not like it, but it's accepted, right?
Yeah.
But women don't. They think that, oh my goodness, I'm going bald, because women don't know that as we age, our hair also starts getting thinner, and that's a part of aging. But at this point, we don't have to just sit and take it. Men has been doing things in terms of trying to figure it out how to not to lose their hair for a very long time. As women, we haven't talked about it. Somehow hair loss and hair thinning for women is still somewhat of a taboo subject. I have women who come for appointment for a lot of different reasons, and it's always at the end they say that, by the way, my hair is thinning.
And is it your follicle? Are your strands themselves getting thinner, or you have fewer follicles producing?
Both. It's actually both.
Double whammy.
What you're not noticing first is that actually the hair shaft also gets thinner. It's not as robust. It's not as thick. So that contributes to your perception that your hair is thinner. Women come and tell me that before it took them just one wrap of their hairband to put all their hair. Now they can wrap that hairband multiple times. So the hair gets thinner. Then you start noticing that the hair follicle actually is not as robust. So the hair doesn't grow as much. And then some of the hair follicles actually go through the senescence, which means that they're really kind of starting to go to sleep and dying down. So we're producing the density of the hair follicles, and therefore the density of the hairs on the scalp becomes less. You start seeing the scalp more.
And so what are we supposed to be taking things for that? I mean,
We do, right?
Yeah, well, to really.
So what we can do is to understand that the hair thinning and the hair loss is a very, very multifactorial process. And when you think that you're going to just take one vitamin or you're going to use a shampoo and it's going to fix all your problems, that's just silly. It's not going to happen. You really have to think about hair growth as a very highly metabolically active process. So you need to make sure that you support your body to actually do that. So what happens with perimenopause and menopause? We mentioned that estrogen goes down. So taking maca, taking saw palmetto, taking antioxidants. I love ashwagandha. That's what I get from Nutrafol. Ashwagandha is actually an adaptogen that helps our body to mitigate stress, specifically the effects of stress on the hair follicles. So taking actually supplements that are specific for what your body is going through to that process is what we can do. So I said that ashwagandha, taking antioxidants, because your body, as I mentioned, doesn't process the metabolic stress and environmental stress as much. So give it support how to do it a little bit better. Let's see, curcumin is anti-inflammatory. Stress creates inflammation in our body. And we know at this point that inflammation is one of the probably culprits of a lot of things that go wrong. So taking anti-inflammatories, giving your body nutrients that help it combat that environmental stress. And collagen, taking collagen supplements, not only for your skin. I'm a dermatologist, so I do love skin, but taking collagen actually helps to build up how you produce hairs. Taking collagen and taking proteins also supports your microbiome. And we do know that there's a lot of biofeedback between your gut and how our hair grows. Don't think about your hair that it's something on the outside of your body. Think about it, your hair, that it's part of your body as a whole. Supporting your body multifactorially, what's going to really help to support your hair.
Well, that's a good point. We all talk about our hair being, part of our appearance, but there's a lot of it you can't see, and that's what part we should really be focusing on, right? So Jane, let's talk about you mentioned something about, we talked about collagen and getting drier, and you see everything that comes on the market and the products, and I'm just help everybody here kind of learn about what they can do to kind of help with that dry skin or
Sure,
your skin.
When I do answer that, after I answer that, I have a question for Dr. Rosak about scalp massage.
Okay.
But I think what's interesting is a lot of the tried and true ingredients, frankly, help a lot, like hyaluronic acid. Obviously, it's a skin plumper, and it will add not only a little, plumpness, bounce to your skin, but it also helps with hydration. Look for products that contain peptides in them. Obviously, antioxidants. Dr. Rosak was talking about that earlier. Retinols. I'm a huge fan of Retin-A. I use it about every other night. Obviously, it's a pretty serious. I use prescription, so you have to kind of dip your toe into it and see how your skin handles it. But I have a fly in this room, and it's gonna drive me crazy. Just letting you know. If you see me do that, I'm not crazy.
You're not crazy.
Of course, it flew in when I walked in this door. What was I saying? Retinols. Yeah, so they help prevent precancerous lesions, and they obviously help with what's the word I'm looking for? Exfoliation of your skin. And they're protective, but they're also, and this jumps into another category, they're also great for adult acne, which was another question you had down the line. So I jumped ahead.
No problem.
It's a conundrum.
Yeah.
Because the acne products we all used when we were 23, I had so much oil on my face that all I wanted to do was just soak it up with every drying agent I could find. I see Dr. X laughing. Like it was, and I remember thinking, oh, I'll be happy when I'm 60. Let's see about that. But when you're older and in your, late 40s and 50s and older, you don't want something that's drying. So that's where retinols are helpful. But you just, you should probably talk to your dermatologist about a program that kind of balances it out. And the final thing I'm going to and there are a couple things like taking long showers is kind of a bummer. That's, that is, yeah, right. It can
That's
just
my stress relief.
I know. Like I take 3 baths a day.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just one of those weirdos who never wears body lotion. I've just never had to. Maybe it's back to the oily skin when I was in my 20s, but basically up the moisturizer, retinols, and exercise, because exercise, and obviously eating right, but exercise, promotes blood circulation, which is, great for your skin as well, and promotes oxygen getting there as well.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, Dr. Rusak?
And your scalp, the same thing. Blood circulation, it's as important for your skin as for your scalp.
That was my question.
Massage, yes.
That was my question to you. So you must be a big believer in that.
Yes, absolutely.
We're talking about scalp massage,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're talking about scalp massage, guys. So we can get a doctor's prescription now for scalp massage, right? Or we have
written out.
But do you recommend once a week or every time you shampoo of just like really getting in there?
The best thing to do is when you're shampooing, and it's gentle massage. You want to make sure that you're not really digging your nails into your scalp, because you can damage the hair follicles. But gentle massage, almost like a lymphatic massage, that improves the circulation, and it will improve actually also lymphatic drainage a little bit from there. I do think that massage is great for everything.
What can you explain a lymphatic massage to people who might not know?
So lymphatic massage is actually draining the lymph. We very often do it for the face. When you wake up in the morning and you're puffy, I actually do that every morning before I get up. Very gently, I do the lymphatic massage right here, and it has to be very gentle because the lymphatic channels are very, very thin. They are the ones that accumulate excess water and then drain it out. So really kind of moving it around a little bit. You will notice a huge difference when you wake up if you do it before you actually get up from the bed, to just depuff your face.
Okay, and so and is it, I mean, a really good thing if you have under eye bags and things, circles like
when
mine?
you have under your bags, you don't want to stretch the skin. You kind of want to very gently almost tap it a little bit just to promote the circulation. That's what really helps.
Okay, and I want to tell everyone who's listening, if you're taking notes or you're like, wait, what was that? What was that? We're going to write a story about this conversation, and we're also going to incorporate your questions and so forth. So if there's if we don't, for one thing, if we don't get to your questions, because we already have tons of questions, if we don't get to them on this conversation, we will get them answered and into the story. So no fears there. So I'm really, that was one of my questions that you just preempted by just telling me that how to get rid of my or help with my dark circles. So
puffiness and dark circles.
Yes.
How is the word?
So, and we'll also, Jane, you named retinol was one, the antioxidants. Are certain ingredients that we should be looking for in our skincare regime?
Hyaluronic acid, peptides, antioxidants. You can never go wrong with that. Again, retinols. And yeah, I think I'm repeating myself here, unfortunately. Sorry about that. No. But I think, occlusive moisture, like you want a moisturizer that is, and that actually then speaks to regular exfoliating of your skin, because you get rid of the dead surface layers. So piggybacking on what Dr. Rusak said, especially if your skin is sensitive like mine is, you don't want to use an aggressive exfoliation. You want to, find one that is obviously gentler, and it can be possibly like an alpha beta hydroxy acid peel, like Dr. Gross makes one. Try that out. But as far as I'm not a huge fan of physical exfoliating, like grainy ones. I prefer finding a peel, like I said, like an alpha beta peel that will remove the top surface. I also think like Biologique Recherche P50, like that is like a daily kind of exfoliation that I do on my skin, where like for a second you're like, whoa, like I look a little red, and then it goes away.
So you exfoliate daily?
Yes, but it, like I'm saying, it's not a grainy one. It's more of, honestly, it's sort of like a toner.
I see. Okay. And you probably saw there was a question about dry brushing while we're on exfoliation.
Oh, I saw that one.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you like that?
I think dry brushing is great. And if I told you that I do it twice a day, then can I sell you a bridge in Brooklyn? I'm very do as I say, not as I do. I'm a huge proponent of it.
But look at you. I mean, look at your beautiful skin. So we are going to believe whatever you say.
You're very nice. Don't dry brush your skin. Don't dry brush your face.
So as we're moving along, I want to make sure we get into this because this is one of the hottest topics at Next Tribe. We write a story about going gray or not, and we get tons of comments, and people are very passionate about this subject. So I wanted to know from you, Dr. Rousset, if somebody decides they want to go gray, what's the best way to do it?
So if you're really deciding to go gray, and then you just have to naturally let it go. But again, think about it when you're going gray. So we will start losing the pigment in our hair follicles, and it's pigment cells called melanocytes that produce melanin. That's what gives us either dark hair or lighter hair. And the same process as everything else. As we go through the menopause and perimenopause, the hormonal stress, but also the biological stress of getting older, the cells are starting to work a little bit less and a little bit less. So you start producing less and less pigment. That's what contributes to getting gray. However, if you're under more stress, environmental stress, if you have more inflammation, you actually can go gray earlier than in reality genetically you should be going. So you have to think first when you are saying that you're going gray. There are definitely some genetic conditions where people start losing pigment in their hair. But you also might want to pay attention if your hair is becoming more brittle, if your hair is becoming grayer earlier than genetically you should be. Maybe it's an indicator that there's something going on with your body. Maybe you're going through menopause earlier, and maybe you should start paying attention to how to supplement your body, how to make it stronger, how to make it healthier. So don't just, if you see the gray, decide that, oh, I'm going gray and I'm going to let it go. Think about it. Talk to your dermatologist. What does it mean?
But if somebody wants to have it, go gray and it be really pretty gray, or can that be done? I mean, can your hair
Absolutely.
be gray?
Gray looks beautiful. I think that the gray looks beautiful, but think about it. Gray hair, it's only the color. You still want to make sure that your gray hair is healthy, and you still have to take the supplements to support the hair growth. Even gray hair goes under the same stress when we go through the menopause. So when your estrogen goes down, it still affects your hair, even though it's gray. So gray doesn't mean that it's healthy. The gray hair can also be unhealthy. Gray hair can also be thin. And especially when the hair is actually gray, sometimes it's a beautiful color, but it always looks a little bit thinner. So you want to make sure that you have a good dense population of gray hairs on your scalp so it looks good and healthy. When your hair is very thin and gray, it doesn't look good.
Okay, well, we are going to have questions about that, I know. And Jane, anyway, if you do go gray, I mean, you're blonde, so maybe you're.
Are you kidding?
Oh, that's awesome. You look blonde to me. But what do you do if what would you change on your face if you had been dark and then you go gray? I mean, there's a lot, I would imagine.
I've actually written a lot about this. Like I did a personal essay for the Cut about going gray, because when I'd thought about it for years, and like a publicist friend of mine was like, back when I was freelancing and I had just left W Magazine, she was like, now is not the time for you to go gray. You need to look young. So I was like, okay, I went back, and you're like a slave to highlights. I was certainly a slave to my colorist, and I loved being blonde. And then when this all happened, I thought, well, if not now, when?
Oh.
And the weird thing is, the last time that I let my roots grow a little too long, my gray was much more dishwatery and kind of salt and pepper. And I'm very happy to see that it's mostly white. So being colored blonde it's not this huge bifurcation, and I feel kind of lucky about that. But I don't know if you guys know the designer Maria Cornejo. She beautiful olive skin, dark hair, and back in September she was like, Jane, I've had it, I'm going gray. And she would change her part every once in a while, just to kind of like, it's like a mathematical equation, but kind of just to like ease into the gray, if that makes any sense. Because obviously, Dr. Rusak, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like it comes in different spots more.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now she's fully gray. And I reached out to her to ask her, back to your original question, Jeannie, like, you know, has she changed her makeup game? And she said she never used to wear makeup. And now, I took notes here, sorry. And now she has to, because she doesn't want to look washed out anymore. Which is interesting because she had olive skin and with the gray hair. I think it's a beautiful juxtaposition, but you know, she's never worn lipstick before. She's wearing lipstick now. I think you just kind of have to, I also spoke to, I don't know, a makeup artist friend of mine who said, look at your skin. Now that you're going gray and you have a different halo surrounding your face, take a, you know, assess it. It's like reassessing your skin. And that framing that has changed its color, frankly, will have to do with your foundation. You might want to go possibly switch to a tinted moisturizer, or maybe one shade darker. You certainly don't want to go much darker. Make your blush more of a, you know, up the pigment there just a little. I am not saying go crazy on the makeup, but you have a different frame now. You have a different canvas, frankly. And so, you know, think of it as a fun time to experiment.
Right.
Like, I think there's nothing chicer than a gray-haired woman like Linda Rodin, gray and red lip.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's nice. And so I want to just get this. You know, this might be breaking news. Are you actually going to go? Are you actually going gray now? You're
for the time being. Yeah, I'm not going to say I'll stay this way forever. Although if I had to put money on it, I would think that I will.
Wow. Okay. Well, I know a lot of people have talked about this as a good time to do it. I mean, you're right. Everybody's stuck without everybody except me right now. Sorry. I'm rubbing it in.
I know it's a bold move.
Yep. I like
especially
that.
if you're used to a certain color. It's a big change, and you know, there's that element of like, oh, you're just giving up.
No.
I feel like back to what you were saying about men, like, and Dr. Rusak, like, you know, men seem to embrace certain aging elements more. And like, my husband went bald at 24. I didn't meet him until almost 20 years later, but back then it was not cool to be bald. Now it's cool to be bald. And I feel like gray, and maybe this is just me thinking, oh, I'm cool, so gray's cool. But I can't help but feel like in the general zeitgeist, and maybe has to do with COVID and the lockdown, maybe it's time to embrace gray. Like, who made the rule that gray was old looking and farty? You know what I mean? Like, it's true though. It's really,
it is.
It's quite elegant. So
it is. And I actually, we're gonna get to questions, and I'm gonna start off by Caroline Raphael. She has a comment where she said that her stylist pulled highlights through as she went gray. So it was a bit, I can't read it all, but it was, I think I've heard that people kind of
transition,
helping you transition into gray, which I think is really nice. So let's see, we have so many questions, and we're only scheduled to go for like 15 more minutes, so we've got to get some of these in. Let's see. I'm just going to go. We have age spots. What are they? How to treat them? What are the best ways to treat them? Jane or Dr. Rusak?
Jane?
We're both giving it to each other. Hey, come on, you're the dermatologist.
Yes, maybe Jane. Maybe Dr.
If I'll start talking about how to treat brown spots, it's going to be the rest of 15 minutes. So I'm going to leave it to you for a little bit.
Okay, so is that, let's see, is that too in depth to get into that? to the age spots?
I think in the short term is what Jane said, that actually supporting your skin. So I think that using antioxidants so the skin can actually repair, and using retinol so the skin can exfoliate and then repair also will help a lot with age spots. But then on top of it, sunscreen, sunscreen, sunscreen. Make sure that you protect your skin because you are not repairing as much. So protect your skin and give it more of the ways to repair itself.
Can't you also, sorry to interrupt, Jeannie, but what about, I think it's called the hyfricator. Is that what it's called? Because I've had some of my age spots burn down and they just kind of like flake off.
There are two different types of age spots. There are age
Oh.
spots that are just brown and they're called lenticas. It's really just build up and increased pigment due to the environmental and UV radiation. And then there are age spots that are called seborrheic keratosis. We started calling them seborrheic keratosis recently because in the past we used to call them barnacles. Because it's always age, like on this sheet. So those barnacles are layers and layers of dead cells. And that's when we use the hyfricate and we gently peel off the dead layers of the skin.
I see. Okay. So I'm trying to sort through all these questions, but one is that somebody talked about thin lips. She's got thin lips and chipped teeth, and she says lipstick only brings attention to these faults. I'm 58 and starting to think of getting braces. I guess let's talk about thinning lips, because that was my big question. So I'm going to join Anne here on that part. What to do besides? I mean, I know there's fillers, but maybe Jane, I should ask you what are some makeup tricks for thin lips?
I've had thin lips my whole life that I've never worn lipstick because of it. And now that we live in this age of Zoom, I'm starting to wear color because no one can really see me that close up, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. It's just very foreign to me wearing lipstick because I think everyone's preoccupied with how thin my lips are. And
that's exactly how I don't know if this is, I go with light, I don't know if you can see it, but I always go with light colors because I feel like anything heavy I think I wrote it as like speaking rubber bands or something.
I feel like that's a weird quirk that you and I both have, because one of my best friends has very thin lips and she always wears a red lip and it just kind of looks chic on her.
Oh.
I had lip filler once and I was fascinated by it. I have to say it hurt like the dickens, but it just almost felt like they didn't look too big, but it just was like this foreign thing on me. Like, what do I do with these? And I still didn't wear lipstick.
Oh, yep. I never had the filler because I said somewhere I didn't like Barbara Hershey's lips. Remember that?
Right.
That made a big impression on me. Somebody is asking about what kind of collagen. Is there Fran Carpentier? Hi, Fran. Asked, is there a special form of collagen that we should take for better hair? Is it a pill, a powder? Dr. Rusak?
So in Nutrafol, you actually do have collagen and you have all the nutrition. It's also very important to think not only what you take, but actually what you absorb, because what you absorb is going to matter. And in order for you to absorb, you also need to have a healthy gut and healthy microbiome. So again, it all goes back to that it's very all multifactorial. You can't just take one versus the other things. And that's what I love about taking a supplement that actually addresses all these multifactorial issues. If you support your body metabolically, if you give it nutrition, if you give it the cofactors, if you support your body when it's going through those changes with ingredients that you know your body needs. So if you support your body metabolically with maca, if you support your body with, I'm gonna pronounce it correctly, astaxanthin. This is terrible for me because it actually supports those two ingredients. And I know that I've mentioned so many different ingredients. Somebody posted here that they don't understand all the ingredients I'm mentioning. And I'm hoping that we will be able to kind of write them all down because it's a lot. It's a lot if you don't know that. But all those ingredients are really focusing on addressing different factors that contribute to hair loss, hair thinning, and the health of your scalp through understanding how your body goes through this process metabolically. I recommend Nutrafol to a lot of my patients, especially the Nutrafol Advanced, to my perimenopausal and menopausal women. And I do preface it, I hope I'm allowed to say that Nutrafol is very good for your hair. But there's absolutely nothing that will be good for your hair if you don't support your body. So I do recommend Nutrafol for this women as really as an overall supplement. If you're going to be good to your body from the inside, your hair will look healthy also.
Okay, great. And somebody's asked too, what effect does coloring your hair, pointing to my hair, for all these years have an impact on hair loss and hair health, hair thinning, all of that?
So definitely aggressive processing of the hair will contribute to hair looking thinner. A lot of the coloring pulls or destroys the cuticle, which is a protective shaft on the hairs. It's very similar to over-aggressively treating your nails. So if you destroy the cuticle layer of the protective layer on the hair shaft of the hair with aggressive processing, whether you're coloring it, whether you're blow drying it a lot, whether you're straightening it, it will expose the hair to more environmental damage. And the more hair exposed to the environmental damage, the worse it's going to be for its wear and tear. So you'll notice that it breaks much easier, that it doesn't grow as longer, that it's not the nice texture, that it doesn't have this beautiful color to it.
And there's a similar question was, there have been a lot of stories about hair products that cause thinning hair, and this questioner was trying to decide if it's her hair products or menopause that have caused her hair to get much thinner.
Probably both. I don't think that we can really delineate and differentiate one from the other, because the hair, again, some hair products, and I do know that there was a lot of controversy about certain products that actually right now go through the lawsuit, that they cause the damage to the hair follicle. And if you damage the hair follicle, which is located in your scalp, so always think about it that you want to support the health of your scalp, because that's where basically the root of your hair is, and that's what gives growth to your hair. So if you damage the hair follicles, damage it with chemicals. If you damage it with products that are toxic to the hair follicle, your hair is not going to grow. And think about your scalp the same way as Jane was talking about it, thinking and treating your hair. We want to exfoliate it, we want to give it support, we want to give it nutrients, and then your hair will also grow better.
Okay, great. And along those lines, I guess this one could be for skin, or just skin and hair. Any foods you recommend specifically to enhance our health and appearance that complement the kind of things we've been talking about?
That's going to be, again, a separate completely lecture. Because there's a lot, but there's a definitely common theme. What we've been discussing from the outside, the products that we are discussing outside, antioxidants to help our body repair. There's a lot of foods that are antioxidants that help our body repair, and boosting your own repair mechanism, there's nothing better than that. Nothing that we can do to you will be better than what your body can do to itself. So taking foods that are rich in the antioxidants, taking foods that are actually bring the inflammation down, so anti-inflammatory foods. And there are certain supplements like curcumin. Curcumin is one of my most favorite supplements, and it is also present in Nutrafol, but I also add it additionally to a lot of things that I cook. It's very common right now to find even the root of curcumin in Whole Foods, in the stores, and you can add it to your smoothie or add it to anything else that you're cooking with.
Is that cumin? C-U-M-I-N?
Cumin. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's the bioavailable form of it, curcumin.
Okay, I see. And we have, let's see, I had something for Jane, but wait a second, I can't find it.
While you're looking, can I give a little promotion here of a line that I forgot to mention before?
Oh, yeah. That was the question. What line? That was the question, actually.
Okay. I have not tried this line myself, although not for lack of them wanting to send it to me. I've just been all over the place. But there's a line called Pause.
Oh,
and I've spoken to a number of women, friends of mine, who are either perimenopause or go through menopause, who are like, "Oh my God!" So it comes highly recommended.
Oh, wonderful. We know the people from Pause too. Fabulous.
Oh, good.
Company. So yes. And does it contain some of those ingredients we've been talking about? I mean, as far as like the antioxidants and all that?
I'm sure it does. I don't have the list in front of me, but I'm sure it does.
Okay. Let's see what else.
I love these questions.
I know. There's just so many fun things. I guess we're back to, somebody wanted to know about exfoliation. We got a lot of questions about exfoliation too. And washcloth, fine for exfoliation? Is that
I'm not a big fan of washcloths because I think a standard washcloth can be kind of abrasive.
okay? Maybe too abrasive. All right.
Yeah.
Here's
Say water in their home.
somebody.
Oh, the brand is called Pause, Pause, and
yes.
hold on. Let me see if I can find the website.
Yeah,
while you're
yeah, and then it goes. It's Pause, and it's also Pause Well Aging. I think so. Andrea says she likes
Pause while aging. Yep.
Biologique endorsement. A big Biologique. Is that you mentioned them?
That was one of the ones. Yeah, Biologique Recherche, P50, and then the other one that I mentioned that someone was asking was Dr. Dennis Gross, his alpha beta pads.
Okay. Okay.
For a peel, for exfoliation.
Okay, and for lymphatic draining, Marie's asked, what about handheld tools like the self-care, which has 3 non-rolling rollers? Have you heard of, what about tools for lymphatic draining, Dr. Rusak?
There's a lot of tools right now available. It's becoming very in vogue to use different tools and gua sha. And I think that if you know how to use them, it's great, but you can also use your hands. And I think that doing just very basic lymphatic drainage massage also. But if somebody knows how to do that, I think lymphatic drainage is fantastic. It really helps.
Okay, good. And Kirsten, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I see someone asking, the one that I was discussing, was it Nutrafol Women Balance or just a regular woman?
Oh, okay.
So I do recommend the Woman Balance because it actually addresses specifically perimenopausal and menopausal concerns. So it has a little bit more of so-called method to down-regulate the effects of that androgens that are higher now that our estrogen and progesterone goes down. It has maca and it has other ingredients like ashwagandha to really support women during that stressful time and stressful metabolically and mentally time.
Okay, good. Oh, I see. Yes, I see that question. They're coming so fast, it's hard to keep up with them.
I'm scrolling.
Nancy is asked about, she has dry skin everywhere. Oh no, her skin is not dry except around her eyes and in certain places. How can she treat if she has not, her skin is not dry in most places, but dry in certain key places? Dr. Rusak or Jane, is there certain, like maybe there's certain eye creams that you just use the eye cream only? Nancy?
You want to take it up, Jane, or do you want me to answer?
I want you to answer.
So when your skin, first of all, everybody's skin is combination. When you go to the store and they'll tell you that you have a combination skin and you feel like, oh my goodness, they really know what they're talking about it, that's not true. Everybody's skin is combination. We're all oily in the T-zone and then we're a little bit drier on the sides. The problem is that when your skin becomes inflamed, your T-zone wants to overcompensate and sometimes produces too much oil, and then the problem starts going and propagating. But if you really have drier skin around the eyes, it could be an indicator of some really more of a problems. And I don't want to kind of just tell you use a different eye cream. I think that you probably should see a board-certified dermatologist to make sure that you don't have skin eczema or periocular eczema or conditions that can actually cause different patches of the skin to appear drier than others on the face.
Okay, good. So let's see, so many. So somebody's asking if they can use bone broth for the collagen needed.
I think bone broth is great. I think bone broth really gives you a lot of collagen, and that collagen actually you can absorb it very, very well. So every collagen supplement, but especially the collagen supplement that comes with natural foods, I'm all for it.
Okay, great. Well, I just got to notice that we are almost out of time. I had no idea. I was just so enjoying this conversation. But as I said before, if we didn't get to your question, we are going to compile them and get you answers. And we'll be doing a story for Next Tribe about this conversation. So we'll get all of these. And I know a lot of you have asked for the spellings of things, and we're going to have all of that together. And we are going to notify the 5 of you we pick as winners. We're going to notify you by email. It will also be emailing you a link to this to this video. So if you wanted to look at it again or show it to somebody, you'd be able to. And we really want to thank Jane Larkworthy and Dr. Rusek for joining us. How wonderful for you to be here. So informative, really, really. I learned a lot. And we also definitely want to thank Nutrafol, which is such a great company, and the products are great. And what a great mission they have of supporting us as we sort of trying to support women who are going through menopause. And you can find them at Nutrafol.com. Please check them out. And remember that on Tuesday, June 9th, we're going to have our second session of this menopause journey discussion. And it's going to be our mind and our mood. And God knows we get a lot of questions about that, right? like, how do you just stop it? The mind from no. One of our guests will be the author, Darcy Steinke. She wrote Flash Count Diary, Menopause, and the Vindication of Natural Life, which is just amazing. And the conversation should be just as informative and lively as this one. I think you'll enjoy it too. And I know I'll enjoy being with all of you. And I want to thank my guests again and thank all of you. Maybe we'll see you next time.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Wonderful. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.